Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be coming and speaking in Entity Upgrade. As you saw, healthcare, how they are solving their problems with AI, and then you saw how the imaging aspects of AI in the last presenters. So what we are going to do is slightly different. So we talk about banking and financial services, how we implement AI. So as banking and financial services has huge technology debt, in the attempt to modernize, right, there is a lot of pressure and to get things done quicker and faster. So at the same time, whoever does this quicker and faster are earning the larger market share. So based on some of the statistics from McKinsey and a few other research agencies, the amount of technology debt that exists in financial services amounts to $1 trillion, right? And 500 billion legacy code needs to be remediated. So this, when you look at this, this is staggering. And every year, last 10 years, there is a modernization effort to mitigate this, but the progress also poses challenge, right? The technology evolution. But now we have an ability to leverage generative AI. Now I'm going to invite my partners, Mechanized AI, Entity FinTech partners. So we collaborated to bring some of these things into picture. Charles Wright is the CEO of Mechanized AI, and Ian Easton, Chief Operating Officer, Mechanized AI. We are working on a very real industry problem. With that, maybe let me start teasing up, right, Charles. So can you provide some of your insights into the technology debt that you're dealing with?
Well, I mean, I've been in the industry for about 20 years, and we've been dealing with the same problem about addressing this legacy code problem. And unfortunately, every year we fall further in debt, right? We fall further behind. And up until recently, with the advent of generative AI, the kind of genesis of it, we really haven't had a real significant solution. There's a lot of time being wasted. There's a lot of years that have gone by because of it. But we feel like with the advent of generative AI, our capabilities around producing a solution for it, we think that we can actually, NTT Data and us, can actually make a huge dent in the market.
Great. I think you have some...
Yeah, I have some stuff to show you. So can I stand up?
Yeah, absolutely,
All right,
absolutely.
Thanks. I'll do a little bit better when I'm standing up. Let me grab that. All right, let me hit this. So this is a real problem that we actually had that was brought to us by NTT, right? So I want to give Madhu his credit as well. That's how partnership really works, is that this is a business problem that he has been facing throughout his career and allowed us to work with him to define how we solve it, right? So one of the biggest problems is getting to the starting line, right? So a lot of issues with business deals in general is the time to success, right? So the clients, if you go into your client office and you sit down with them and say, we're going to solve your problem 5 years from now, they really are not really excited about that conversation, right? Because it takes too much time. They may not even be there in 5 years, right? If they don't solve this problem, there's a new CIO, new CTO coming in the door, right? So this, because of this capability, if you look at what we've done with this particular solution, is we've taken a year off an entire project and over 22,500 man hours. Now, from a consulting perspective, that's a lot of billable hours being lost. However, we didn't say you couldn't charge the client for those 22,500 hours. The difference is we can do this in 6 weeks as opposed to a year with 11 full-time FTEs. And we use this example, a 300,000 line of code example, because that's essentially what the average legacy app looks like. But there are billions of lines of legacy code. So if you use this example, you're actually restoring almost $6 per line of code of technical debt being removed from the client. So you can not only go to your clients and say, we're removing your technical debt, but we're revolutionizing and evolutionizing your application for future proofing, as my colleague Madhu likes to say. I stole his line, by the way. So he shouldn't have said that before the show. But the reality is that's where we are. That's where we are. We are taking the conversation from 3 years to a year and a half. And we're taking the cost and the level of effort, because when you think about it, that's 11 FTEs, but that's not including meetings, that's not including people, that's not including Scrum meetings, it's not including management layer meetings. These are 22 just man hours, 22,000, excuse me. And so this is a really evolutionary jump in the actual conversation you can have with your client that's going to accelerate their outcome. And this business opportunity, as Madhu mentioned, is a $1.1 or $1.2 trillion problem. So that's I don't want to keep going.
Let's show it.
Okay, cool. So let's actually show you what we did. And I hope this works. So we created what we call mechanized code map. And this particular technology, I'm going to put this down. Huh?
It's right in front of you, bud.
Oh, good. I don't even have to turn around. Good. Which is on better side anyway. So if you look at it from here, it's very simple. We've created a very simple to use interface where you can update your code from Git, zip file. Once the code is updated, and I'm going to use, this is very complex reporting, we automatically create a summarization of the report that you can actually start to use to plan your future state. This is an executive level, not say executive level, but it covers executive audiences, it covers business owners, it covers technical architects, it covers all the people that are going to be a part of this journey, and it allows them to actually build out that future state. So if you look at some tools in the market today, they're very brute force, code to code, line to code. That's not the best way to build your applications. I'm sure everybody who's ever put in industry enterprise applications do not code this way. So this allows you to build the actual story from the lens of multiple stakeholders so they can start their actual processing from a more logical, business-focused, oriented way. Now, this was built completely by GenAI. I want to make this a good point to understand is that we built this to fight off code hallucinations and generative AI, so we built resiliency in for that. We also built in coding, hack injections, remove that barrier so we can make sure that no one can take advantage of this. But when you look at this entire, if you look at it scrolling behind me, it looks at it from multiple lenses because this is how significant, how important this is. Now, the report you saw was the summarization. The actual report was almost 1,500 lines of, 1,500 pages. I guess it's larger than Lord of the Rings. So it's a significant output that you can start building your outcome with. So this is not something small. And if you look at some of the diagrams, these were auto-created by generative AI. It actually looks at data lineage, gives you UMLs, diagrams, as you can see, the entire flow. So when we presented this and we showed this to our NTT data team that was responsible for refactoring, this is the work they would have had to do. This is the work they would have to done. And if you realize most of these projects are also tied into client engagement responsibility. So it's not just your delivery team, there's stakeholders you have to work with. What are the amount of hours they're spending? We just took all those hours out of the client's bucket. So now there's no objection to, oh, how many people I need to help you do the legacy remediation? How many people? This is all done through generative AI. Now we also go into the code, as you can see, and part of this deep dive into the code allows you to see what we've actually built so you can verify it along the way. The cool thing, as I mentioned, we use multiple large language models. In this particular example, I believe we use ChatGPT and Llama. So we actually run checks against it to prevent hallucinations and making sure that we're actually building out correct documentation. We've recently integrated with Gemini 1.5, so we support all the large language models. And what we feel is more important, or I say more important, the next breakthrough of generative AI is the ability to combine all the generative AI together and build out solutions. Not picking winners, not picking favorites, merging them all together. And in this case, we use multiple LLMs to build all this capability out. And you guys, well, we're going to be going through some of the actual middleware services, all the stuff that we're actually building out, all the diagrams. The beauty of this solution is that all of this is auto-built by the actual solution. So it actually picks out the best diagrams that you can actually use to build on that'll actually facilitate an actual transition into the future state. And so as we go through the video, it's actually demonstrating all these capabilities. We'll go through multiple iterations of the actual solution. And then I want to get to the point where we get to the dashboard, where I actually show you, I think the next step is going to be the wireframes. So a big part about the build process is wireframing, right? So how does the application look? This is a very old application we took from Git, from Sun Microsystems. You can see it's an old banking app. We actually use this as our example, but obviously the wireframes on these old legacy applications aren't the most aesthetically pleasing, but it'll be a good way to start that process. And then last but not least, we built the code calculator into the solution. So you guys can start talking about how much money we're actually saving. This was only a 2,000 code example. So you can show the technical debt that was taken out of the application was saved. And for our executives in the group, this was for Madhu's edification. He wanted a kind of a high-level dashboard so you can actually see how the projects are being done, how many reports are being generated, and of course, at the end, how much human hours are being saved versus our cost reduction. So these are some of the things that, as we're doing multiple lines of code, multiple projects, multiple applications, the client can actually have visibility into what's happening when they're processing in a project. So I know I took a little bit of time, but Madhu, I'll turn it over to you. I know you have some further questions for us.
Absolutely. So idea behind this, when you modernize, the biggest time is lack of documentation, lack of subject matter expertise. So how do you overcome that? So this is an attempt to do that. And we are, we are taking a larger representative set, almost 5 million lines of code. That is in our next iteration that is coming. We will also have different variety of legacy technologies. Now, while we are doing this, I want to ask Ian, in your experience, what has been the, how long the modernization, some of these type of things, project lasts?
Yeah, that's a really salient question, Madhu, and I appreciate you asking it. Charles touched on this, and I'll just sort of bring it home for the audience because it's an important concept for all of us to grasp. Your average modernization project per application is anywhere from 18 months to 2 years, right? And just the analysis, mapping, and discovery portion, if you would, that we have discussed today consumes half of that. So if you can shave half the time off of a modernization project, and if you consider that McKinsey research has stated that there are legacy or banks out here with thousands of legacy applications, you can do the math at the value.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ian. Now, when you look at this, there is an aspect of past proofing. Chris Shah is somewhere here. I want to give credit to Chris Shah. Chris Shah mentioned that there is a way to past proof it and a way to future proof it. So we are here to support you. Please give us a call. We can work in your context, in your situation. So I'm Madhu Magadi from FSI Banking and Financial Services and Insurance Consulting. I lead the modernization and architecture. So we are incubating these type of fintech partnerships to solve industry problems so that we no longer show presentation, but we show art of possible. So with that, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to present to these esteemed delegates and forum.